Hey, welcome back in to another bad vlog with David L. Gray. Hey, I think in all my books, except for my the Catholic Catechism of Freemasonry, and definitely many of my podcasts, I talk about where I'm from, how I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood, how I wasn't really raised culturally black and all that stuff. So it's a point of reference for me. So I thought, hey, since I'm in Warren, back at home for a while, I left Germany a few days ago to go to speak at the conference for the Coalition for Council Priests, and then I went up to Mass at St. John Cantius, and then I drove to Warren. So now I'm here and I'm about to leave, head down to Southern Ohio. But I said, hey, why don't I show you guys, put some image to some of those words, show you where I'm from. So this is the family house in Warren, Ohio, and it's where I grew up. And it's still a house we have in our family. My cousin Julie, she restored it beautifully, except for the kitchen. It looks like it used to on the inside, and we have a family member that still lives here, so it's the family house. We're blessed to have that. There's a funny story that I remember that happened like right here. And I was thinking about Julie paid for the house to get redone. Maybe I should pay for this sidewalk. It's like in disrepair. But right there, I remember this is the first time I ever got a whipping with a belt. So I came home from school that way when I should have came home from school this way. I think I'm in kindergarten or first grade. So I'm walking down the street and I see my mom and my grandma outside waiting on me. I'm not thinking anything of it. Then I get closer and I see my mom has a belt in her hand. Still don't think anything of it. Never been beat with a belt. And my mom asked me, she said, why'd you come home from school that way? I guess they had been waiting for me to come home from the other way. And I tell her, I walked that way, with some friends. And hear my grandmother encouraging her, Gwen, beat his ass. And I was like, what does that mean? So my mom proceeds to give me a whooping with a belt right there. I guess because they were worried that I had been kidnapped or something. So that was my first whipping. So that's like one of the memories that I have here. So, and I really love that this house is still in the family. And I think there's some theology attached to that I want to talk about. It's one of my favorite stories from the Gospel of John. It's in John 10. So they were trying to kill Jesus again. And the text says that he escaped. And he went back to the Jordan where John was baptizing. And he remained there. And then the text says that many people came there. Many people followed him there. And they realized that John performed no sign. But everything that he said about this man was true. And the text says that many came to believe because of that. And so it's always been important for me to be able to come back home. And every time I come back home, I sort of realize I have some sort of experience of realizing where I came from and how far I've come since then, or what things have remained by me the same that I need to change. Home for me has always been like a reference point, a point to return back to. And I have a few of those, right? Like my conversion, my point of conversion when I came to believe in Christ. Return back to that point and do some inventory and do some reconciliation. And it's good to return back home for that. We should have a place to return home to so we can remember, right, that everything that Jesus said was true. And so I don't know if you still have your family home. Let me know in the comment box if you do below, or let me know what your reference point is. But this is definitely one of mine. So this is the street I grew up in, like many streets and towns like this that used to make cars, used to make steel. It's not beautiful as it used to be, but there's still a lot of families on the street that still own their home. That house right there, the greenhouse, where I first started making money cutting grass. And so I'm going to show you some more about the neighborhood. Like I said, I always thought it was a pretty Catholic neighborhood. I'm going to show you the Catholic things here. This is not going to be a walking tour like it usually is. I don't have time for that. Got to head out. But so we're going to drive around Warren a little bit, and I'll show you some things. My grandmother came up from Alabama. I forget the year, but at first they were living in the Benton Homes, which is not far from here. and he's working in a steel mill. Bought this house before we lived here. A Jewish family lived here. Remember, they came back one time. I think the daughter wanted to walk through the house, remember how she grew up. So it's the family home. And so yeah, let's get this bad blog rolling. All right, so here's a nice point where you can see a lot of things. This right here used to be St. James Catholic Church, and now it's called St. Elizabeth and Seton because they merged some churches here in the Diocese of Youngstown, Ohio. And I remember moving back home. I moved back home after my wife divorced me, and I was living in a family home, and I was walking to Mass here. And it was kind of like surreal for me because I grew up here. Now I'm like Catholic. I remember Catholics when I was a kid. I would like walk past here or drive past here on my bicycle on Sundays or whenever, especially on Sundays, and I would see these Catholics walking into Mass with shorts on, which is weird for me because my church experience was not wearing shorts. But so yeah, I stayed there. I was pushing her there for a while. I was even an altar server there until one day the priest there, he's doing a homily and he says, and I kind of knew he was a Skittle, right? Because he kind of touched my arm kind of weird one day, like he squeezed my muscle. Which is like, always a sign that, hey, this guy's a Skittle, squeezing a man's arm, oftentimes. Not all times, but sometimes. And so, but yeah, and so he's giving a homily, and he says, yeah, I was down in Florida with my husband. What? Somebody rewind this. And so, because that's not a Freudian slip. A man doesn't just accidentally call another man his husband. So that was pretty much my last time in that parish ever. And then from there, I typically was at St. Dominic's in Youngstown. It's a church of the Dominican Fathers. I think I told you about that. Or I was at the Byzantine parish. I think I'll drive past there and show you that here. But so yeah, that's the Catholic church in the neighborhood. Over here, and that's the sort of like the parish hall right there. And it looks like now they have like they use it as also for a community fellowship thing. They like feed people there, which is cool. I don't know if the church is doing that, but that's cool. So that's the hall. A lot of people get married there. There's a meeting there, whatever. This house right here used to be a house of the nuns of Notre Dame. They lived here. I remember seeing them when I used to walk to school over here to Willard Elementary. So, and then over here, that used to be a Catholic school, St. James. A lot of my friends went there. So, yeah. But now it's St. Elizabeth and Seton Parish. So that is, and over here is the rectory where the priests live. I don't know if they still live there. I think they do because I saw somebody driving in there yesterday in the garage, parking in the garage. So that's the rectory. So yeah, this is like a very Catholic corner. Nuns are no longer there, but they were there. Got the nuns there. Got the church hall. Got the parish here, community with the school, and the rectory. So very Catholic corner. So when I say I grew up in a very Catholic neighborhood, that's what I mean. And then I'm about to drive you over and show you the high school, John F. Kennedy High School. Yeah, so let me know if you grew up in a neighborhood like mine that had all these Catholic things, all these Catholic edifices. So a little bit of a drizzle here today up north Ohio. Yeah, let's go this way. Okay, looks like they're still using that as the offices for the St. Elizabeth and Seton Catholic community. Alright, so this is John F. Kennedy High School, Catholic high school named after President John F. Kennedy. I really don't know much about the school. Like I said, I didn't go here. I went to public school, but a lot of my friends went to this school. None of them became Catholic. In fact, some of them are like anti-Catholic. And so I really don't know how well this school did in formation. I really don't know much about them now. My thing I know about it is that that they were good in sports at some point in time. I'll show you their state championships. And as far as I know, they're pretty good academically as well. Unfortunately, this is like one of many places that at some point in time had a bad priest that was here. This guy was a religious brother, and I think he worked in athletics, and he used to give kids massages after practice or whatever, but more was going on than massages. I think by the time all this story comes out, I think he's retired or something like that. And so I don't know if he ever faced the consequences, but it was like a sad story to hear, like people you knew or people who you knew these people. And sometimes I still hear the stories like 30 years later, 40 years later about this stuff. But that's John F. Kennedy High School. So, but yeah. So that's, like I said, very Catholic neighborhood that I grew up in, and I had no idea anything like these Catholics whatsoever. The only thing I knew, like I said, was like my friends went to the school. They wore shorts on Sunday. Sometimes the nuns were outside. Right? Not interacting or anything like that. I just saw them in their habits, the nuns in Notre Dame. They kind of had a stern look on their face. But I always think how my life would have been different growing up in this neighborhood. Very Catholic. If Catholics had evangelized us. Says something to me when I'm on my bike. Says something to me when I'm walking past. How would my life have been different if Catholics had engaged me all the time that I'm here? I wonder about that. So, all right. So, where do I want to head to next? Okay, let me. We're gonna do this in reverse because we're gonna go to the high school that I went to. Well, the one I graduated from, because another one that I went to for a year, they tore that down. So I'll show you the one I graduated from. I went to 9th and 10th grade. And then I'll show you where, after my mom got married, where we moved to. We'll do it in that order. But first, let me take you past St. Peter and Paul Byzantine Church, Catholic Church. And then while we're over there, I'll take you over to St. Mary's. Because I did mention that in my book, The Divine Symphony. I talk about St. Mary's Catholic Church. So, let's do that. Let's head that way. If I remember how to drive around Warren. There was a board of elections over there when I moved back to Warren. I think in 2011, 2012. So in 2012, I was working for the Mitt Romney campaign, and also I was running for was called an alderman or a precinct captain or something like that for Republican Party in my neighborhood. So yeah, that's the Board of Elections. That's where they count the ballots. And I guess this county went in 2020 went for Trump. So it definitely leans, this county leans red. We're approaching St. Peter and Paul Byzantine Catholic Church here, and they also had a school attached to here, to this Catholic church, and some of my friends went there as well. Never became Catholic either. I think that's where the school used to be, St. Peter and Paul. So it looks like it's closed now, obviously. See all the Byzantine icons. Man, some like beautiful landscaping here, really nice. So after the whole thing happened at St. James Catholic Church with the whole Skittle thing, the priest saying he has a husband doing a homily, and I was pretty much done with that parish. That was like the final straw. I saw a bunch of other Skittle stuff going on there with gay men with Skittles, but yeah, that was it. So I went east. And there was another church I went to. It was a Maronite Catholic Church, which is like a Novus Ordo of the East. But it's fine. It was a really good priest there. Who like talking about abortion, evil of abortion. But the liturgy I fell in love with, the Byzantine liturgy, the St. Gregory the Theologian, here at this church. Like the first time I worshiped in his mass, I knew that it was like completely other. It was my first experience outside of the Novus Ordo. And finally, it's kind of like Adam in scripture, like at last, this one, at last, it's true worship. The music, the singing, it was just the mystery, the sacredness, the complete otherness. You just knew that the Byzantine liturgy was not of this earth, that it was something other than that. It was just everything. So I fell in love with it. And I was at 2012, 2013, and then I really didn't stay here that long after that. I moved to Columbus, Ohio. But if I had stayed here, I probably would have went permanently east, either Byzantine or I did, like I said, that Maronite. The liturgy wasn't as transcendent, but I really like the community there. Here, the community, Warren is very cultural, right? It's very, people stick to their own culture here, whether you're Italian, you're Greek, Yugoslavian, culturally black, Lebanese. We have a lot of Eastern cultures here, and you just kind of stick to your own. So, and Warren is still like that in a way. The Greeks are with the Greeks, the blacks are with the blacks, cultural whites and cultural whites. It's just not a whole lot of mixing in this town. So after Mass, there were some nice people here. I would say that. It wasn't, I've been in other places like in Columbus where after Mass, the Greeks or Lebanese, whatever they are, they kind of don't even really speak much to you. But here I would say, here at St. Peter and Paul, they were nice. And they still are when we ever come here. My wife and I always come here for Mass when we're in town. And they're still nice. And maybe they're used to us, I don't know. But it was still, maybe just because I'm from Warren, I just know how people are here as far as sticking with their culture. And maybe that was just a vibe I was getting. Maybe it's not even true. But I think for that reason, I was just more inclined to the Maronite Church, because they just were more wanting to get to know me, wanting me to get involved, but not so much as so St. Dominic's in Youngstown. And I think I showed you that church in my wedding vlog, my bad vlog for my wedding. So you guys already seen that, you know what that's about. But yeah, as soon as I get to that church, when I was church shopping as they say, I met Father Mattori. And first day he saw me, he was like, "What's up? What can we do for you? What can you do for us?" And he just, first time he saw me, he wanted me there. So, and a couple of my friends had went there as well, and they're the ones that first invited me there. So, but yeah, all right. So let's head down that way. I think first we're gonna see St. Mary's Catholic Church, and then I think we'll be able to loop around over to the high school. All right. Bad vlog. Oh, I forgot to show you this corner. So here is a Jewish situation. Looks like a Jewish synagogue there. And here is just a church that calls itself a Christian church. Whatever that means. So interesting corner here. So you got the Byzantine Catholic school, the Byzantine parish, the Jewish situation, and some sort of Protestant situation. Interesting. I just noticed at the Central Christian Church, the billboard says Sunday worship 10 a.m. Lonely? Find a friend here. How about find Jesus here? Our true friend. Sound like it's a dating site. Find a friend here. Quick detour on the bad vlog. I want to show you where I was born. So this is Trimble Memorial Hospital. This is just the old side of it. That's where I was born, in one of those NATO ward rooms. I think they're on the second floor. Don't know which one for sure, but that's where I was born. And my grandfather, the story is my grandfather was standing outside on the green there, shouting up to my mother and all this stuff like that, still trying to get her to give me the last name Gray, because that's not my father's last name, but my father was not going to marry my mother, and my grandfather's position was that he didn't deserve to have a son with his last name then, so give him the last name Gray. It's also a little bit selfish for my grandfather because he only had one son. He was the only Gray of his kind. He's the only son of Bert and Martha, so he was the only Gray, and he had one son, and so he thought hey, if I give my grandson a last name, then we'll have a chance of like being able to continue the family name. So that didn't happen, obviously, because I had all daughters. My uncle has all daughters, and so that's it for the Grays. We the family name is done and over with. So unless something happens, I don't know. Chris and I we have a daughter that marries maybe in the same situation, God willing, that's not the case, but they decide to carry on the family name. And it's weird because it doesn't even matter, right? It's not something that was really like so important to my uncle and I, obviously, because we didn't keep trying to help granddad out, or his father out, but it's just one of those things that happened. So, and I think what I realized is that maybe it was important to me for a while there. Yeah, I think it was. But I think what's important to me, what I realized when I realized that wasn't going to happen, that it's not about your name on earth. It's your name in heaven. That new name that you receive on that white stone. And Peter receiving a new name from Jesus Christ. Abraham being called Abram. It's what does God call you? What does Christ Jesus call you? What is your name in Christ? So that's what I had to realize. That's what became more important to me. Who I am in Christ and my legacy in Christ, rather than some sort of legacy on earth. Now, I do think on earth that you leave behind either love or hate. That's what you leave behind, love or hate. But you can only take with you to the other side love. That's the only thing you can take with you. You can leave here love or hate, but you're going to take with you love. So legacy in that portion was a sense like I do want to leave behind love. I do want to leave behind good theological works. I do want to leave behind things that will help people keep growing in their faith. That's important to me. That legacy is important because I do want to leave behind love. I do want to fill my daughters up with my love so that they can pass that on. They can have a memory of me who's a loving father. So that part's important. But as far as like the last name Gray, whatever. If my uncle and I are the last Grays, well, at least we went out with a bang. At least we're like just legendary people. Right? If we're the last Grays, yeah, that it was Chris Gray and David Gray, yeah, I think that says it all. Because you don't get better than being my uncle. So, all right. So yeah, next up, let's continue to St. Mary's. right, here is St. Mary's Catholic Church in Warren, Ohio. Typical small town, downtown Catholic church. One of the oldest churches here in Warren, Ohio, if not the oldest. Yeah, so my book, The Divine Symphony, the reason why I talk about St. Mary's Catholic Church, because this is like the first church that during the entrance procession that I ever saw where during the opening procession, the people turn around and watch the priest process down the middle of the nave. And it always struck me as being like nuptial, like that's what happens in a wedding. People watch the bride process down the middle of the nave. And I just always thought it was beautiful. So my book, The Divine Symphony, I just talk about that in a section on the procession, the first movements of the Mass, where I'm talking about different things that I saw and what I saw here, and how the church teaches how the opening procession should be primarily reverent. But it recognizes that there is a diversity of things that can happen throughout the world, and they do, regardless of the liturgical rite. So yeah, St. Mary's Catholic Church, Warren, Ohio. There used to be like a really nice priest here who I liked. I can't recall his name, but I used to go to him to confession a lot. He was a nice, simple man. So yeah, can't recall his name, but he's really nice. He's gone now. I think his last name started with an S. Yeah, really nice man. All right, let's head over to the high school. But on the way there, I can go this way so I can at least show you downtown Warren. I don't have like downtown Warren was never like impactful in my life growing up, not Catholic, so that's something I would really need to belabor on in a bad vlog. But I remember coming down here. There are always lots of festivals, not many, but there's some that was always iconic that I remember coming to. The Italian festival was one, and then what they called the African American festival that came along eventually. I didn't really go there. I think I went there maybe once or twice, because the Italian festival was the one that you wanted to be at. So that's the one that everyone enjoyed. Oh, you may have saw on the left, we passed up a little building called Alpha and Omega Ministries. That's actually my uncle Derek Scott. He is the apostle there. I think he calls himself, or pastor. So that's his ministry. Okay, we're coming up on Warren G. Harding now. This school is nothing like the one I went to, so it completely rebuilt. So first I'll show you what's still the case. So Monkoff Stadium, that's still the case. This little building right here is the remnants of what used to be the high school I went to. State champions 2010. I wasn't here, but I guess they're really good. But I was here for this championship right there, the 1990. That's the year we merged high schools from the one on the west side and east side merged. The name changed from Warren G. Harding Panthers to Warren G. Harding Raiders, and the colors changed too, from red and black to black and gold. So we took the other high schools' colors and mascot, and that's the high school I was at before it closed, because I went there for vocational accounting. So but yep, so this is still the old stadium, which is pretty cool. That's still up, and there is the back side of the old high school. So yep, really no point in showing you the new high school because I don't know anything about it. Don't have any kids that ever went there or anything like that. But so this is the only Harding I knew. Man, a lot of really great memories there, from high school and from the old stadium here, running track there, and a lot of great memories. Now, if you were asked like a trivia question, how would a trivia question go? It'll probably go something like this: of like the 3 most beautiful women that graduated from this high school, what were the relationship to David O. Gray? Well, one of them, of the 3 most beautiful, was my girlfriend and prom date. The other one was, for a brief period of time, my fiance, and she's also, I think, not only one of the most beautiful, but also one of the most talented as far as being a musician, an actress, and a playwright. Phenomenal talent. And also she's hilarious. And the third one is my wife now, Felicia, who is definitely, hands down, when she wakes up in the morning, she's like a 10. So, and hilarious, and a perfect wife. So yeah, David O. Gray, product of Warren G. Harding High School. 3 of the most beautiful women that came out of that high school, which you can still see a remnant of right there. So yeah, pretty interesting fun fact. Take that with you. Future Jeopardy question. All right, so let's head over to where I grew up at for most of my life, at least while I was going to Harding and Turner Elementary School, junior high school. I'm not going to show you the Turner. That's destroyed too. They tore that down. But yeah, let's go to where I grew up at. Yep. Warren G. Harding, the remnant of it. They have a really nice high school on the other side. I guess it's like the thing as far as like the things that they do there now. So, but yeah, so what did I do in high school besides like be like a Chad? Well, I was on the swim team for a while. Like I said, I ran track. I was in band until I got kicked out of band. So I wasn't like really popular kid in high school or anything like that. I was just, just kind of mid. I'm quite an introvert. Never sought to be popular or anything like that ever. But I really just had some good friends who I hung out with. There's nothing bad about it at all. So, but at the same time, I don't feel like so attached to the high school. Like, I don't feel like I have to make a pilgrimage there like I would do home. This isn't like one of those conversion points for me. High school is not the place where, I come back to the high school and see it, and it's like a Jesus back at the Jordan River moments. It's not that for me. I don't know if it's that way for you. If it is, let me know in a comment box. Or your high school is one of those memory points that you return to, or a conversion point or something like that. For me, yeah, definitely not. so actually we are going to pass up the place that used to be where I went to for junior high school. Well, I guess I went to 2 junior high schools. This was one of them. This is where Turner Junior High would have been. And it's right next over here to what's called Packard Park. So, and Packard Music Hall right there. And there is the pool, the city pool. And so Packard Park is a nice park. A lot of baseball fields down there. I remember having some memories here at the public pool. Memories of Packard Music Hall. The Packards is a very important name in Warren, Ohio. It's history. You may remember the car that used to be called the Packard car. It was one of those early vehicles from after the Model T, Ford's Model T, and one of the early cars. The Packard was really nice. Made here in Warren, Ohio. The family was here. So, very wealthy family. So this whole street, I didn't show you most of it, but coming out of downtown used to be a very wealthy area and a lot of big houses. So there's like tours here as well that still show you all the old houses and all the early millionaires that used to be in Warren, Ohio, and that's associated with many of the early industries that you found here in Warren, Ohio, as far as steel, rail, cars. So it's quite the booming area for no reason at all. There's a river that runs through here called the Mahoning, but it's not really a major transportation hub. But you have a lot of rail that came through here. And it's about an hour from Cleveland, an hour from Pittsburgh. So it was a good location for industry. But there's not any major universities attached to this town either. So I think that the most that we have here is a branch college at Kent State University. So remember, sometimes you may have heard me say in a vlog or something like that, or maybe one of my comedy skits, I think I said it there, that bridge that we just crossing the Mahoning River. I used to walk up this street right here quite often to go up there to the grocery store that was in that plaza you just saw. And crossing that bridge was always a precarious situation because we called them hillbillies from down the hill. Products of West Virginia. They lived down the hill, down an area called Burbank where I played baseball at. But coming up, we always thought those people were we call them rednecks, hillbillies, other names that people would call them, but they'll come up from the hill in their pickup trucks. And you always knew it. I always knew it because when I'm crossing the bridge, one of them will yell out of the back of the truck, "Nigger!" Nigger! And mind you, like I said, I wasn't raised culturally black or anything like that. I never heard that word until they kept saying it, and for a while I thought that was my name, or I looked like somebody. I thought that was the name of somebody who may look like me, like somebody named Nigger. I was like, wow, this nigger kid, he must know all the rednecks down there. And so then I asked my dad about nigger, because I thought there may be something pejoratory about it, just because the middle finger would always be associated with it. Because at first I thought, man, this nigger kid, man, people must hate him. Once I found out what the middle finger was, 'cause I didn't know what the middle finger was at first, because that's a story as well. And so I asked my dad what it is, and he finally told me what nigger is. And so that was that. That's crazy. Yeah. So walking across that bridge was always a sketchy situation, but I was never really afraid. And so that is the house I grew up in. This area was really, before all the apartments came here. The apartments, first the houses, you had the houses, and then these apartments came. So it's called Jamestown Village. And when we moved here in the 70s, late 70s, I was the only kid of my color that lived on this street. So, and then other kids came later on. Here, down at those apartments, I remember Crystal Austin had moved in there. But all my friends, I remember, Billy lived here right across the street. He stayed in that condo with his family. I lived here. And some Yugoslavians lived in that house right there. And that's when the story about the middle finger comes in. Because one day we're sitting on our back porches, and Mikey, we're just looking at each other on our back porches, and then Mikey does this, but he sticks two of them up at me. And like I said, I had a sense that Mikey was being mean. So I went inside and asked my dad. I said, "What does this mean?" And he's like, "Who did that to you?" And I said, "Mikey." He said, "Go up there and beat Mikey's ass." I'd never been in a fight. I didn't know what a fight was. I think I was 9 or something, maybe 8. So I go back out there and I hop down off my porch. And I don't know how Mikey got off his porch. I think I just say, "Let's fight." Right? I was sure my dad was looking out the back of the window too. And so Mikey gets down. I punch him in the nose. And then he runs in the house crying. And I was like, okay. Mikey never gave me the middle finger anymore. Mikey knew what the middle finger was. He never did it again. And so that was that. His sisters, which are beautiful. He has some beautiful Yugoslavian sisters. One of them asked me one day, "Why'd you punch Mikey in the nose?" I didn't answer, but they used to always have raw animals hanging in the basement. It always smelled a little bit over there, and they always had, sometimes I'd see rats trying to get in. So right there, let me see if I can show you. Yeah, corner kind of right there. I'll show you. Right there. One day, I'm just standing there, and I fall down for some reason. I'm doing something, I fall down, and then Mikey's sisters are coming on their bike, and I guess they try to swerve, and I'm down on the ground, and one of them rolls over my neck, both wheels of her bike over my neck, and I did not feel a thing. It was sort of like somebody had lifted the bike up so that it didn't touch me, but went over, so the bike was supposed to crush my neck. And shoot, perhaps I was supposed to die that day. Who knows? But and so that was one of my first experience with my guardian angel protecting me. Because I remember Mikey's sister, after she rolls over my neck, she's like, "Are you okay?" And she's looking at me with these big eyes, and then for a while she's telling her sisters what happened. She rolled over my neck but didn't roll over my neck. So that was one of my first experiences with a guardian angel. And I remember one day in the back of the house, we have this tree. I wonder if that tree is still there. I wonder if anybody lives here. It looks like they have garbage cans, but there's a tree that I used to carve stuff in. And one day I remember back there's a girl who showed up, and she's this beautiful girl, pale skin, but she's there's nowhere she can come from. The next door neighbors really old people, and they didn't have family, and this girl wasn't attached to anywhere. And she smelled like flowers. I remember that. So I was playing with her for a while, and she wasn't talking, but we were just sitting there, and she's smiling at me. And then I went to my house. I went in the house. My mom was asking me what I was doing underneath the tree, and she's I was like, "Oh, I was playing with that girl." And she's like, "What girl? Wasn't any girl out there?" And so I don't know what that was, but it was I don't know, just weird. But anyway, so this is kind of where I grew up at. So like I said, after a while, other brown people started moving in down the street. There was Corey, who became my really good friend. But all my friends, you had Billy here, you had Jeremy a couple houses down, and then you had Mark, and those are all like really my close friends. Like most of my friends had names from the Bible. And then there was Rebecca. She was a girl that was like a tomboy, called her Becky. And around the corner, I had a paper route too. It was on the other street over there. I go down there for a second when I show you the school that I went to. And so there was another kid on the paper route I was really cool with, and he gave me, when he's moving, he gave me like his whole Kiss album collection, like all the Kiss albums. And so that was my room right there, not the one with the air conditioner, but the one next to it. So I'm in my room one day, I had like Fonz posters, I had, my Kiss albums. Like I guess I was just culturally white, and my dad didn't like that. So he came, and I talk about this in my book, Catholic, Traditional, and Black. I talk about it in there, how he came to the room, turned out my posters. He asked me, who looks like an animal, black people or white people, and all this stuff. And he had all this like race essential stuff. And he used to go on about the Planet of the Apes, how it's like it's like a racist movie. It's just trying to show how like white people are superior and black people were just like monkeys. Apes. He was always like such a race essentialist, which is weird because like why did he move out here like when there was like no black people living out here? And so he goes through this whole thing one day in my room, get rid of my albums, get rid of my Kiss collection, all this stuff, and then he starts taking me to where he grew up at, and like on the west side in the Highland homes, the projects, having me like interact with his friends' kids, like run races and like do all this like culturally black stuff. And I guess it was too late. My mom, before she married him, didn't raise me that way. So I guess it was just the die was already cast. I didn't care about that stuff. I just wanted to be me. I just wanted to be whoever I was. Being like part of a culture like that, whatever. Who makes the best food? Italians make good food. Greeks make good chicken. Whatever. What type of food does your culture make? Whatever I'm eating that day, I'm like that culture. All right. Usually I'm usually Korean. Whatever. So that type of stuff didn't matter to me, but it mattered to him, and it's like a wound, like stuck with me for like a long time. To like in my late 30s, I'm still trying to live up to like the person he wanted me to be. Like I'm trying to figure out, okay, I gotta be black. Let me figure out what that means. Like let me do black stuff. So that stuck with me for like a long time. That affected the school that I transferred to in high school. I wanted to go. That's the reason why I did vocational accounting, really, because I wanted to go to the black high school. I went to a black university. I'll show that to you once I get down to Southern Ohio. So many other things I did in my life. I did the fraternity I joined, the Masonic Lodge I joined, the type of women I would date, or the type of women I'd be serious about. Everything was like because of Roy and me having to like be culturally black. So it's one of those like father wounds that I had to like forgive him for, and that I had to realize that I had. Like, why do I do the things that I do that make no sense? And that I know that I'm just a try-hard. Like, it's not natural to me, it's just a try-hard. Like, why do I do that? Oh, it's because of Roy. And I had to figure that out. And ever since I kind of figured that out, and I've been much happier. So, yeah, so a lot of other stories attached to this house. One of them relates to what I'm about to show you in a moment. So Roy eventually, my stepfather Roy eventually lost his job. He had a really good job. He was a foreman or something at a factory around here. ITT Grinnell or something like that. ITT Grinnell. Yeah, really good job. My mom didn't work or anything like that. And then he lost the job, during the 80s. A lot of people lost their job in Warren. And so yeah, he was out of work, and I guess he didn't want to. I guess he was kind of looking for the same job he had. He wasn't willing to be like a janitor somewhere. So it was like a tough time. I remember, like at the end of the month, sometimes I would be buying groceries for the family with my paper route money. So it was like a tough time. Then I remember we got on welfare. My mom went to work. So I think all this after a while affected Roy, and so he became abusive to my mother, and he started beating her. And I saw some of those beatings. And one time, I think he's about to try to beat my mom. I guess because his manhood wasn't. He didn't feel like a man because he wasn't an earner. My mom was working or something like that. I don't know what psychological issue he was going through. It's probably some stuff I know he saw him growing up, types house he was raised in. So I think he has my mother on the couch, and he has like his hand raised. And so I go to the kitchen and get a knife, and he looks around. And so that was a tense moment. Him trying to get me to put down a knife. But I'm like, dude, you're like done touching my mother. And he didn't touch her around. He didn't touch her again when I was around. Because he knew. I think he knew, like, okay, the gig is up. So, but you know, I had a good childhood though. A lot of good memories. Man. Probably my favorite memory, coming home from school down that path one day, and it was my birthday, and right on top of that hill right there. Can I get there? Yeah, right on top of the hill there was this beautiful chrome bicycle. It was a Cleveland Browns bicycle. It was a chrome bike with a bunch of Cleveland Browns stuff on the bike. Perhaps maybe one of the best birthday gifts of my entire life. It was a Cleveland Browns bicycle with a raincoat. I don't know why the raincoat was thrown in there, but raincoat, I think maybe some shoes too. It was like, dude, just everything Browns. And I remember my first wife, she knew about this memory, and she knew how Pearl was to me. And so she would always, every birthday, she would get me like Cleveland Brown stuff. I had a girlfriend that did that too. Felicia doesn't really, sometimes she does it, but she's not as consistent about, if you want to make me happy, just give me Cleveland Brown stuff. Her parents buy me Cleveland Brown stuff all the time. Her mom does. So those are always the best birthday gifts for me, Cleveland Brown stuff. So, and I guess it goes back to that connection point. Like, that was the best birthday ever. But anyway, done enough talking here. Let's, what do I want to show you? I think we're going to go down my paper route a little bit. Well, my paper route starts, and I'm going to show you the school I went to. I don't know why. Is it still the same school? No, I think it's rebuilt, but I'll show you two anyway. It's McGuffey Elementary. I went there until 4th grade. My first year of 4th grade. And then that school closed, and then I started Emerson for my second year of 4th grade. And the flunking 4th grade thing, I think that was attached to some of the stuff that was going on here, especially with my mom and Roy. They started having kids in 1980, my brothers. And, oh man, you know, every day I used to come home from school, ever since kindergarten, my mom would have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich ready for me. Every day. Mom knew how to make sandwiches for her man, you know, her kid. And one day, there's not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich when I'm walking down the street to come home. And I'm like, Mom, where's my peanut butter and jelly sandwich and my chocolate milk? And she's like, oh, I make it. So she made me the peanut butter and jelly sandwich and chocolate milk. The next day I come home, it's not there. And then I sort of connected it. Oh, Mom's busy with the baby, with my brother Derek. I didn't like Derek for a while because of that. And but so that whole issue of like going from being the only kid to all the stuff that's going on at home with the new brothers rather. It was like a really weird time for me psychologically. So they were like, I was not in school. I was in class, 4th grade, but I wasn't there. Like I don't even remember it. The only thing I remember from that first year of 4th grade was like Sonia Byers. That's it. Like just looking at her. And so yeah, I flunked 4th grade. They tested me. They saw my IQ was like off the charts. They knew it wasn't like an academic issue, but they really didn't, connect any other dots. So they put me in learning disability after that. And then I finally got out of that. And one teacher, I think in 8th grade, 7th grade, I think 8th grade, said, "You're not supposed to be here." So when I transferred to another junior high school, she took me out of all those classes. Like, why are you even here? And all the teachers knew I wasn't supposed to be there. But that's just where you put special ed kids, you know. But yeah, so let's get out of here and go to the next stop. And I think that's it. I don't have to take you to Emerson. I could, but I don't feel like going over there, really. It's just another high school. I don't even know if Emerson Elementary is still there. But let me take you over to McGuffey. It's like right behind this house. I can just go behind the house. This house used to be a different color, by the way. A lot nicer. Billy's house is still nice. I mean, Mikey's house is still nice. I don't know if the Yugoslavians still live there, but the Bush's house, that house right there, Mr. and Mrs. Bush, like a wonderful old couple. That man cut his grass with electric lawnmower like twice a week. He is so obsessive. But yeah, I could go through the backyard. But typically, there used to be like a little sidewalk here. I would go down. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it looks like it still connects. Oh, they have a fence there too now. So, yeah, that's how I usually would go to school. And based upon my memory with my mom giving me a whooping for not coming home from school the right way, I've always been very particular about taking the same route every time. But this is what's called Jamestown Village. So first came all the houses, and then later on they started building all these apartments. So all the apartment kids, they had like a pool. They had like 2 pools they can go to. It was like a really nice apartment neighborhood or whatever. So if you had a friend, you could get into the pool. Oh, let me take you down to Burbank. I don't know. So down here, down the hill, is where all the rednecks and everything used to live. So this is like sort of their neighborhood. I don't even know if I still know how to get there. Let me see. Show you where I used to play baseball at. Those are some poor memories. That's another thing about growing up with my stepdad Roy and my father Oscar. He's played an important part of my life. I used to see him like if not every weekend, every other weekend. He was like a big part of my life. I won't take you to the west side where he lived or anything like that, but I'm just showing you the east side and the north side of Warren. So, I mean, this wasn't a rough neighborhood or anything. I would walk down here to go to baseball practice and games. It was never like crazy. But this is where all those kids used to live that had no problem calling you a nigger. Burbank Park. Cool. So yeah, this is where I played baseball at. So nobody really respected you if you played down here. Because we had pitching machines. I don't know why they didn't respect us. I thought it was cool, but the kids from the west side, they were hitting off of tees. They didn't have machines. We had pitching machines here. And so, but I thought it was a good league. And I was, of course, usually the only black kid on my team, but nothing I really ever noticed. But what I was going to say, I remember, like,
please fasten driver's seat belt.
I remember when my brothers came along, they came of age. I remember, now Roy and my biological dad, Oscar, they're always at my games, right? They're at my games. Very supportive. I remember that. I was good too. I was like fast. I was always batting like 4th or something like that, so I had a good swing. So I was good. But I remember the difference was that when my brothers came of age, Roy became their coach. He taught me how to play baseball and everything. He was supportive because he used to play minor league. I think he may have got called up one time. I can't recall, but he was really good in his day. And yeah, so he taught me how to play. But when they became of age, he was their coach. That was one of those psychological things that didn't kick in later, like why I was like so messed up and why I never wanted to like date a woman with kids. Why I never wanted to be a stepdad. Because I remember feeling different, right? That I didn't have Roy's last name, my brothers did. He was their coach, he was, it's just, I could tell that he treated me different than he treated them. And I never wanted to put a kid in that position. So that's why I never wanted to date women with kids. I never wanted to be a stepdad. Right? So, but that also played a big thing with like playing baseball down here. All the kids who got to be all-stars, either their dad was a coach or their dad was friends with the dad. Like I was better than almost all of the kids who were all-stars. I was faster. I had a better hit, but I never got to play, this fancy positions like shortstop and all that stuff. With all the kids whose dad was coaches or was friends with their dad was friends with the coach, they always got, to be the all-stars and got the position. So I kind of resented that, my dad wasn't a coach and all this stuff. But so I thought I was really good at baseball. It could have been my thing. But my favorite memory down here is this pond. I'll show it to you. Yeah, so this is Burbank Pond. And, oh man, I caught so many catfish down here. I would take them home, and Roy taught me how to skin them. And we would have catfish sometimes for dinner. We would barbecue or whatever. My mom would fry it up. And we used to have like a raft that was made out of 2 long logs, and it was connected by boards that connected the logs, and we had this long stick, and we would just push it out on the pond and just have a good time, me and my friends. So yeah, that was great. Yeah, great memories, man, down here. So anyway, so that's Burbank. So now I think we're wrapping up this bad vlog. Where are we going to next? Oh yeah, my paper route. And then that'll be it. So I'm about to, next time you see me, I'll be in probably Xenia, Ohio. I'm going to Columbus first, but I don't think there's anything in Columbus. I lived there for like 5 years, but I don't think there's anything that was like a life-changing place for me that I have to like show you. So this is the school and not the school that I went to from about, I guess, 2nd to 4th grade, my first year of 4th grade. So it is a school and not the school, because it's completely rebuilt. Because they did something in Warren. They like merged grades or something like that. So I think all the schools now are like from K all the way up into 8th or something. So they don't even have like middle schools here anymore. So they rebuilt all these schools to do the thing that they're doing. So, but this is pretty much where my paper route started. I think I had a paper route ever since I was like 9 years old. Until my mom, so eventually my mother, there's a Jehovah's Witness church next to there. And this is a different church that wasn't there. So, like, you ever wonder, like, what verse of scripture Protestants use to start up their own church? Like, where in the Bible does it say you can just start up your own church? You ever wonder about that? Like, what verse do they use for that? Because every church started in the Bible started by someone who was an apostle of Jesus Christ, or who's ordained by the apostles. So, like Timothy, he's a bishop, but he's ordained by Peter or by Paul or whoever. So, where in the Bible they say you can start your own church? That was weird. Anyway, I digress. That was like the swim club when I was a kid. If you was black, you couldn't belong to. But all my friends belonged to that swim club, and I always wanted to belong to it. But anyway, this is my paper route. So I'd be delivering papers on both sides of the street. It was a nice little gig. There used to be a nursing home right there. I had people in a nursing home who I delivered the paper to. It always smelled kind of funny in there. And so then here, my paper route sort of ends once we get to this hill. And then I would go down the hill on my bike, just like this. I don't know why I didn't think this was dangerous. On a bicycle. But I didn't think it was dangerous at all. Because it's so narrow. It's not even any room for anybody to scoot over. Yeah, trucks coming down the street. And then so then I make it down the hill, and then I always boom, popped in here. This used to be a 7-Eleven. I come in here, I get me a Annihilator or Fifth Avenue, and then I would take that road home right there. So that was my situation. Alright, so that's the bad vlog for now. So next time I see you, I'll be somewhere else in Ohio. So talk to you soon. Bad vlog out. And now we've come to the end of another bad vlog. I finally made it down to Wilberforce, Ohio, where I went to undergraduate at Central State University. And not a lot has, a lot has changed about the campus. It looks like the perimeter is still the same, but everything on the inside has changed quite a bit. Looks like a lot of new buildings. Haven't been on campus in a long time. Probably over 7 years. So yeah, growing up not Catholic in Warren led me to this point where I enrolled here at Central State University. About some of the things that I did here. I talked about it at other places. Became a Freemason, ran track for a while, met the woman who I would marry, have 3 daughters with. But that's really just another part of the story. But the point is, I came here because I guess it's really the same thing. This is a historically black university, which means it's predominantly black historically, as university started with the first reparations that former slaves received, which is part of that was building universities for blacks to go to. It was really the creation of the first onslaught of this idea of separation, separate but equal, of segregation. Blacks would have their universities, and so-called white Americans would have theirs. And so Citrus State was one of those first universities they built after Reconstruction. So, and I came here like for those reasons, to really understand what it was to be black, culturally black, and figure out how to pose. That's really just another part of the whole story. But thanks for tuning in to another bad vlog with David L. Gray. Peace out. And Wilberforce, Ohio.